What's up, my people? Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, Happy birthday to my eldest son, Happy birthday to my youngest son, Happy birthday to my puppy. I know that's all the holidays we've missed since we've been together. I apologize. It's been busy for me, as you see, and plus, I moved. I'm no longer in an apartment. I am in a three-bedroom house with a fenced in backyard. Yay. I have my own office because I need an office. I'm not that girl who can just work at the kitchen table or just a desk. Like I tried. My desk was in the dining room before. It drove me crazy. It drove me crazy. Like, so no, I prayed I could have my own office, and now I do because I'm faithful and God loves me. Yay! I know. Also, I found a mother pit bull and her two pit bull puppies. Like, so now I have five dogs. Yeah, they're all pit bulls and they're all girls. And I have a cat. Remember, I found the cat October 3rd. So, yeah, now I have just a whole bunch of animals, and I can't help it. I love animals. That's who I am. That's who I am. I'm not gonna get any more because no more can fit in my car. Because I'm so crazy, and I know I'm crazy that I really drive around with them all in my car. So it is what it is. I forgot to do the intro. Today's Tuesday, so it's time for what's on Melody's mind today. Yay! I'm Melody, and I'm here to talk about my life since COVID. Like, oh my goodness, COVID. I don't know if I had COVID personally. 'Cause my immune system's like super duper strong, like super duper strong. No exaggeration. I haven't been sick in 23 years. There were times where when it first came out, and I lived in Cleveland, and Cleveland was like a hotbed for COVID. I felt like I swallowed needles several times, but I drank me some hot tea hunt with honey, and I gargled salt water, and I said a prayer, and I woke up feeling great again. I haven't felt like that since I left Cleveland. But when I was there, it happened several times. So it was March of 2019 or 2020. We're in 2020. We're in 2022 right now. Oh my goodness. So it was 2020, no, 2020. Yes, 2020. 2020. And it was March 11th. I hadn't heard about COVID because I don't stay in the news. Like, just, I'm I can't obsess with what's going on in the physical realm because it's depressing. It's extremely depressing. And I know people who have had COVID personally. My nephews had it. My niece had it. My other niece had it. My sister-in-law had it. My husband had it. My high school sweetheart had it. Like even one of my fellow students' mothers had it. So I know people who had COVID, and I know people who were hospitalized because of COVID. And my heart goes out to them. I just wasn't one of those people, and it might bother y'all to know that I only wore masks when I absolutely had to. I never stopped hugging people. I'm just I'm that I'm just so spiritual that I'm just like, if God wants me to have COVID and he wants to kill me, then I'm going to heaven. So bye earth. And if God wants me to have COVID and it doesn't kill me, then I'm just gonna lose about 20 pounds in 2 weeks. Like seriously, that was my thought process. Like, so I'm gonna be sick. I haven't been sick in 20 years. And I remember every time I got sick for 3 days, I lost 5 pounds. So I'm so weird. I can find the upside in everything. So March 11th, I remember doing ministry at the church. They had me work in the booth. I was greeting people and telling them about, I was working guest services. And I was doing AMA, had questions, ask me anything. That's what AMA, ask me anything. Yeah, because I'm that person. They made a ministry for in the church. As far as I'm concerned, it was perfect for me because all my life I've been shunned on being a know-it-all, and they finally had a ministry where I was supposed to know everything. So I was like, yay! So they asked me to work Wednesday. I didn't usually work Wednesday, but I was like, okay, no problem. Anytime somebody asks me to do anything in the church, my answer is automatic. Yes, that's just the way I was raised. So I was working Wednesday, and when I get there, there's signs talking about we're not hugging. We're not hugging. I'm like, what do you mean? We're not hugging? Because in my church, we had the love tunnel. You walk in and you got hugs from everybody in that tunnel, and it was awesome. Like, and there was just no hugging. And the sermon mentioned something about COVID. The very first time I have ever heard anything about COVID-19. No, well, maybe it came out in 2019. I don't know. The whole time has been a blur. You know when it came out. You know when COVID came out. So go home from church the next day. I get announcements from the pastor because I was in ministry. When you're in ministry in my church, you just the minute the pastor gives the ministry leader notifications and the ministry leader gives them to his ministry. So I got a message from my minister saying church was closed. Excuse you? Excuse you? Church is closed? What do you mean? I didn't. So church is closed. Church church is closed. Where am I supposed to go Monday? Well, Wednesday and Saturday and Sunday. That's what I did. I did church. I'm when I dedicated my life to Christ, I dedicated my life to Christ. Like, so where do I go? And I work for DoorDash. I work for DoorDash. So my work is considered essential. It's essential to get food to people. Without food, people can't live. So I had that pass saying I could be out at all times, and I was driving for DoorDash, and oh my goodness, I can't lie, but when they shut down basically everything but the hospitals and restaurants, do you know I got paid like maybe 20, $30 an hour? Like seriously, there were mad bonuses. It was to the point where I was working 7 hours and I'm making $150, and I'm like, I'm working less. Before COVID, I used to work like 10, 15, 18-hour days because I was a hustler. Well, not was, I am a hustler. But when COVID hit and I was just making so much money, I said, I'm going to take advantage of the extra time to myself because for the first time in years, I didn't have to work so hard to make what I was making. So I took advantage of it. After a while of there being no church, there's no street team. I was on the ministry, another ministry, I know. I was on a couple ministries. I was on the street team ministry where we went out and evangelized. Now everybody's afraid to be around people. So I couldn't go out and evangelize with my street team. There was no Saturday street teams. So there was no place for me to be ever, ever, other than work. The advantage of me working with DoorDash, other than the fact that I got paid buku money during the lockdown, was and still is I'm able to work just about any city in this country. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's no place to be Monday through Sunday. So there's no place for me to check in. I decide what a perfect time to go on a cross country road trip. Yes, I've driven cross country before because I'm from California. I was raised in Ohio. I've literally been back and forth my whole entire life, and I like to drive. I've flown. I'm not afraid of planes at all. I've flown, but I like driving. I like taking the scenic route. I like going with your own flow. Like, planes are just a hassle to me. I got to check in at a certain time. I got to wait in these long lines. I got to get darn near naked to get checked in. Then I got to pay extra money if I'm 2 pounds overweight. Then I can't bring certain things with me. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I've even taken a dog on a plane before. I didn't know twice. Twice, yeah. Back when I was younger, we flew from Atlanta. We took the little puppy in a little tiny cage that fit under the seat because it was a tiny puppy. But then I've also flown, yeah, from Atlanta to Las Vegas, yeah. And I've also flown from Columbus, Ohio to LAX, California with a big dog in a crate under the plane. Like, so I've taken dogs on planes before, but flying is just, it's not worth it to me. I'm not in a rush. What am I in a rush for? So no, I I decided to go cross country. I mean, my mother had been begging for me to come see her for the longest, and I was just like, I guess so. My mama lives in Vegas. I was living in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm gonna take my sweet old time. So I took the long route. Yeah, most people would have just drove right to her. Uh-uh. I decide to drive to Fargo, North Dakota first. And people say, what's in Fargo? Not much, but some beautiful things to see. And the people in Fargo are oh so nice. Oh so nice. I enjoyed my time in Fargo. I only stayed there for 3 days. And I said, I got to go back. I absolutely have to go back because it's beautiful. It was beautiful. And one thing I loved about when I was door dashing in Fargo, because like I said, I can door dash anywhere. So I literally door dashed across the country because I'm awesome. Hey, when you're door dashing in Fargo, you'll get an order and you'll pick up in Fargo and you'll end up in the next state because you're on the border. And I just thought that was beautiful. So just fascinating that I'm picking up in one state and dropping off in another state, just going back and forth. It was amusing to me because I'm special like that. So after Fargo, I had to go to my favorite place in the world. I mean, I've only been to 40 states so far, and to a lot of people, 40 states is a lot of places. To me, like, no, because I haven't been to the world, Craig. I've only been to 40 states. So, but my favorite place in this country so far is Spokane, Washington. Yes, yes, not Seattle. Seattle's cool and all, but Spokane, they have that Spokane River, and the lifestyle is so laid back. So laid back. I'm in love with the Spokane River. I dream about it all the time. If I could live anywhere in the world, if I could live anywhere in the United States, because I haven't explored the world yet, if I could live anywhere in the United States, and technically I can, I'd be living in Spokane, Washington. It's just, it's beautiful. That river, it's 111 miles long. One day I'm going to walk it. I'm upset that I said that because now I'm going to have to do it just because I said it. But me and my dogs, we had so much fun there. It's the lifestyle is just like chillax. Like the whole time I was there, I think I spent a whole week there, and I don't think I ever saw a single police officer. And I started testing the limits because I picked up an order in Spokane at the mall, and I was just like, I don't know what stuck on stupidness I was on that day, but I really did it. I just pulled up to the door at the mall and put my hazards on and walked into the food court because I hate picking up food from the food courts. I don't mind restaurants, but now you want me to go and search for the restaurant? I can't stand it. So I was just like, ugh, and just parked my car right there. So seriously, and I was just like, it is what it is. And nobody fussed at me. I found a park. I found a park in Spokane that said it was open 24 hours, and I had to test it. So I slept at the park 3 days in a row just to see if it was really open 24 hours, and it was. I used to wake up and see the sunrise on the waterfall because why wouldn't you? That is the benefit of driving. And I was sleeping in my car. A couple times I got hotels, but I'm just like, it's just me and my girls. I can rough it. I can rough it. And I was saving money. Like, no, I don't mind sleeping in the car. It's just me and two dogs. I got pit bulls. I got knives. I got hatchets. I got bats. I got hammers. Come, and I got guides. So I ain't worried about sleeping in random places. Doesn't bother me at all. That's just me. It isn't for everybody, but that's just me. So I come from Spokane. Like I said, my mother's in Reno. She's fussing at, I mean, no, my mother's in Vegas. My mother lives in Las Vegas. I hate Las Vegas. It's Sin City. I'm not about sinning anymore, so I don't want to go into the city in which they sin and that they're known for sinning. When I lived in Las Vegas, I sinned for a living. So I'm in Spokane. Vegas is down here. I decide to stop in Reno because I've never been to Reno. I've never been to Reno, and obviously I like to go to random places. I want to check everything off on my list, and I've heard of Reno so many times. How do you not stop? It looks just like Las Vegas, just smaller. Seriously, it looked just like Las Vegas. Like I was just I think I stayed half a day. I was like, I'm out. I'm out. I was so over it. I was so over it once I realized how close to like Las Vegas it was. I was just like, I'm done. I'm done. So over Reno. So then I go to Vegas. Hi, mommy. Hi, nephew. Hi, nephew. Hi, other nephew. Hi, brother. Yes, because I have family who lives in Vegas because we're from California and apparently they migrated to Vegas years after I did because I lived there a decade ago. So over it. Right? So I tried door dashing in Vegas. It's just not beneficial. It's not beneficial. I mean, I worked the 8 hour shifts and would only make $50. What in the world, Craig? I can't do that. And I still had car note to pay. So I was just like, I'm out of here. I'll be back in a moment. So I literally drove to Phoenix because I needed some more money to pay my car note. And I've never been to Phoenix. No, I have been to Phoenix before back in '05, but I didn't get to explore Phoenix. Me and my ex-husband, my dead husband, my first husband's dead. I didn't kill him. People ask me, is he dead? I mean, no, did you kill him? Because they'd be like, well, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm like, I'm not. And they be like, well, dang, did you do it? I ain't have nothing to do with it, but that man was so evil. I think God had to take him to his eternal resting place quicker than later because he was not a good man. Not a good man. We've heard stories about him before, right? Right? You've seen my earlier videos. That man used to lie, cheat, steal, beat me, and then some. So no, I'm not. The only reason why I'm sad that he's gone is because his sons don't get to know him. Other than that, good riddance. So I went to Phoenix. I stayed out there for like 2 weeks, and Phoenix was like the most depressing place I went to on my journey. Seriously, I saw so many people that were homeless in Phoenix that it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing to me. Like I've seen clusters of homeless, but this was a new type of homeless. I'm seeing people live in bushes. Like seriously, they were sleeping behind bushes. I go to the rest areas, and there were people living in brand new vehicles. Living in brand new vehicles. These aren't vans, camper vans and RVs and such. No. I told you I was sleeping in my vehicle. So I slept at the rest areas and truck stops. Hello. And I would pay attention because I was there for like 2 weeks. And there were really people living in their vehicles. And there are a lot of people just sleeping on the streets and such. So, me being who I am, I took time to investigate. A lot of people have lost their jobs because of COVID and we're just stuck. Seriously, a lot of people lost their homes because during the transition of COVID, they couldn't make their mortgage or their rent, and they end up losing their home, but they still had their vehicle. So they just lived in their vehicle and ended up getting a new job. Like I used to see this one lady and her son get up every morning and go to work and then come home to the rest area. Now, technically, the truck stopped with a Denny's on it, and it's Phoenix is just a big desert surrounded by fields of cotton with a bunch of homeless people. And I have never, I didn't know there were so many African Americans living in Phoenix, and those weren't the people that were homeless. I saw some African Americans homeless, but it's not. No, I saw more Caucasians homeless, Caucasians and Hispanics homeless out there. Seriously, it got to the point where I would allow them on occasions to sit in my car with me and just ride around with me while I was door dashing. There was this one lady, she stayed in my car with me for 3 days. I used to drop her off at work and come back and pick her up. And she stayed in my car with me for 3 days until we finally got a hold of a friend of hers who was stable. And I dropped her off at his house. And she was just like, I'm cool, I'm staying here. Like, so after me being in Phoenix for 2 weeks, I was just so overwhelmed with sadness. I said, I gotta go. I gotta go. I couldn't. I can't stay around sadness too long. Mm-mm. So I left Phoenix and I went home. And when I say home, I don't mean Cleveland, Ohio. No. I went to Santa Monica, San Fernando Valley. I went to Los Angeles County, in the place that I'm from. See? So Cali. I'm from Southern California, so I went home. I went home. No, the camera didn't freeze. No, I went home and my brain was just like, are you kidding? The world has changed. I don't, and I know it has a whole lot to do with COVID because I investigated it. So many people living in vans and RVs. Like you can go to LA County and just there are streets where people in cars, not just vans, but in cars, RVs, regular vans, just completely living in them because they've lost employment because of COVID. Are you kidding me? No, no. In Southern California, there are what I call hobo huts because these people, they have made houses out of whatever they can find on the street. And some of them were quite nice, some of them weren't. And I was just fascinated, just like seriously, Tent City ain't got nothing on this. There is a park in actual Los Angeles, not just Los Angeles County, but in downtown Los Angeles, where because I went to the dog parks. That's one thing I love about California. They have so many dog parks. I have I had two pit bulls at that time. Now I have five. They don't need to go to a dog park. They are a dog park. But I went to a dog park and I discovered a whole park where there's just these people, they just set up hobo huts in the park. In the park. Like, and one man, I wish I would have had the picture ready. Because his hobo hut was just fly. It was clean. And one day I actually met the man and I saw him just OCD organizing, like he's taking everything out so he can organize it. And I said, that is exactly how I clean. Like when I clean for real, it looks like I'm getting dirty before I clean. And that's just because that's how you do real cleaning, as far as I'm concerned. But he had some of the nicest things in his hobo hut. Like he gave me dresses. I don't know what this man was doing with dresses, and I didn't ask where he got them, but he had dresses with price tags still on them. And I mean, some of these dresses had one of them had a price tag for a 450, no, 500. Yeah, it was $450 price tag. I got a shirt that cost $150, and I still don't understand why it costs that much because it's not even. It's a workout shirt. Like seriously, shirts made specifically to work out in. But this man just gave me so many clothes because he had like a whole bag full of them and told me to sort through them. They all still had the tags on them, so Why wouldn't you get you some new free clothes? And I mean, these I don't know what rich white lady he got these clothes from, and I didn't care because they fit me. They were my style. They still had the tags on them, and they were free. But yes, so I had a blast in California because I'm a California girl. So seriously, California girl. It's where I'm from. It's where I'm from. At several times I went to Malibu. Malibu. All my life I was told you had to be rich to live on the beach. The homeless people taught me otherwise. All you need is a tent and you can just live on the beach. It is crazy how you cannot sleep in the park during the daytime and start at the beach. Santa Monica. There we go. Venice Beach, Muscle Beach. You know the beach. It's in a lot of movies. I know. The place where I'm from is in a lot of movies. But I was told you honestly you cannot sleep in the park that touches the beach, but you can sleep on the beach. Like seriously, you can sleep in the sand on the beach. I did it before when I was walking across the country. Hashtag walk a blind faith. Look it up on Facebook. But so in Malibu, there are literally people in RVs that they full time live. Because I sat in my car in Malibu. It's something about Malibu, California that I just get stuck. I go to Malibu and my body says this is where we're gonna be for the next couple of days. And I watch people have RVs in cars and live in their RV across the street from Malibu Beach and drive away in their car and go wherever they went to work apparently and come back hours later and they would just live in their at the beach at the beach. I seen camper vans with hammocks, surfboards, and I mean, I'm seeing people hashtag van life live in their vans full time. And these weren't bums. These people, I mean, they got some Mercedes Benz vans that cost like 60 grand and they're lavish. They're better than some people's houses. So don't look down on people who live in vans. Like, some of these vans are like super duper fly. Like, so not my baby, my younger brother was to get married November 14th. I remember his wedding day. So I had to leave California and go back to Vegas. Yeah. And my puppy ate my debit card when I was at the gas station. So life got a little messy. I didn't really have access to my money at a point in time, which made traveling kind of hard. I ended up showing up to the wedding late, and I told my brother because he called me. He said, "Do you remember what today is?" Yeah, and I said, "I'm going to be extremely late," because I tell him I didn't have access to money. I ended up running out of gas on the freeway and had to push my car uphill in dress, in slides. Eventually, somebody helped me. I was just so livid at all the people watching me pushing my car up the hill in a dress in some slides and didn't stop and help. But God sent the one person who was a God fearing man to help me. And I know he's a God fearing man because we had a conversation about God after he got me to the gas station. Yes, he helped he used his vehicle to push me up the hill. The reason why I have a whole bunch of bumper stickers on my bumper is because he scratched up my bumper. Like, but I was no longer stuck on the side of the freeway. I wasn't even on the side of the road. I was on the freeway. So I ended up getting to my brother's wedding when it was over. But I made it. I was the only person in our family that did make it, other than my mother and my nephews because they were in the wedding because my brother he caters to them. So after the wedding, I was just like, I think I stayed a day or two because I was just like, I can't stand. I literally cannot stand Las Vegas. All the glitz and glamour, all I see is sin, 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 and I don't want to be around it. Like it's just a terrible place as far as I'm concerned. The gate to hell in my mind. If you like it, I'm not about to say nothing bad about you because that's how I feel. Like, seriously. So I was like, I'm going back to Cali. I'm going back to Cali. I'm going. Like, so I drive back to California. Remember, I told you my puppy ate my debit card. So my money was type of funny. And I get to Barstow, California, and I lived in Barstow, California for a couple years, like a decade or so ago, more than a decade ago. And I happened to call Jonathan because I met Jonathan in Barstow, and I was like, I wonder if he's still out here. I called him. I know. Facebook is awesome because I really downloaded Facebook Messenger so I could message Jonathan because I was just like, I wonder if he still lives in Barstow. I call him. Actually, I just messaged him my phone number and he called me right away. That's a little creepy, but awesome all at the same time. So he calls me and I was like, "Yo, dude, why don't you send me some money?" Because he told me he wasn't in Barstow. And I was like, "Why don't you send me some money?" Like, I just need enough gas money to get to Santa Monica because the work out there is good, and I need enough gas money to get out there and get to working. Because once I get to working, I'm straight, and just float me some money. And he was like, "No problem, no problem." I couldn't help it. My face was itching. So he sent me some money via Facebook Messenger. Love technology. Love technology. Like, so so I had gas money. I made it to, what's that place? Santa Monica. Santa Monica. Ooh, surf life. You don't know nothing about California. It's relaxed. It really, the places in which I go into California, it's relaxed. And I honestly made it to several of the elementary schools that I went to when I lived in California. I went to my old apartments, my old parks that I used to hang out, and I really had that like nostalgia, that childhood memories. I went to the last foster home I lived in. I don't know why I didn't knock on the door. Maybe because I knew that the foster mother was dead and wasn't sure who lived there anymore. But I really just like kicked it with my childhood memories. And eventually, let's see, yeah. So eventually, I made it back to Las Vegas because I do love my mommy. I do love my mommy. So I went back to Las Vegas and I decided to take my younger nephew, he was 12 at the time. I was like, let me take him out on the road. Yeah, so I it's time to pray. We'll pray when we're done. I forgot to turn off the alarm, but I put it right here. I know I'm so spiritual. I have times to pray. Thank you, Jesus. Quick prayer. See? So I took my 12-year-old nephew. I was like, road trip. And he was like, yeah. So I know. I got a special relationship with all of my nephews because I'm that cool auntie. Because as a child, I didn't have aunties in my life. I have aunties. I have blood aunties. I have aunts I'm related to, but they weren't in my life because they just, two of them, my black aunties, because my daddy was adopted and I didn't grow up with them in my life. And my Caucasian aunties, we're not gonna start to talk about them because y'all gonna be like, what? I know, right? It's terrible. So I decided I'm gonna be that cool auntie because I didn't have a cool auntie. So I took my nephew. I took my 12-year-old nephew to I took him to San Diego. Yeah. No, I took him to Hollywood because he wanted to see Hollywood. I took him to Santa Monica because he wanted to see the beach. And then I ended up taking him to San Diego. I don't know, because I felt like it. Because it was only 2 hours away. Like, why only go one place when you're see that's the benefit of not flying, is because you could just see other places too. So I took him to San Diego, Imperial Beach, San Francisco. I know, right? I took him to the border. The border of United States and Mexico. Yeah, we got a picture of us standing in front of the wall. Because my homegirl's like, is there really a wall at the border? And there's border patrol and there's a big old gate. And I met some people who smuggle people in. I don't know, because I managed to come across interesting people when I'm out in the world and doing my travels, because when you're not paying for hotels, you tend to be out in the streets more, and you're just I'm a relaxed person out there in the world, so I talk to people, and I really met somebody whose job was to sneak people across the border through a hole in the fence, for real. Hey, so I ended up taking Jared back home to Las Vegas. And then I asked my mother if I could take, I know I said his name. Oh, well, Jared, my nephew Jared. And then so I asked my mother, can I take my other nephew who was 20? Yeah, 20. He was 19 at the time. I had to do some math in my head. And so I took him to the same places I took Jared to. I took him to Hollywood, because I don't know, these kids act like they've never seen places before, and I'm all about going new places. So I took him to Santa Monica Beach as well. I took him to Malibu Beach. I got a Mexican blanket when I was in Malibu with Jared, and I got a Mexican blanket when I was in Malibu with Jeremiah. So I have two Mexican blankets in there. Mine, I'm not giving them up to anybody. The sentimental values. I have so few things in life that I hold on to, and I only hold on to them for so many years. But then I decide to go to Tijuana. Let me tell you about Tijuana. First of all, anything you buy on the border from Hispanic people is absolutely dirt cheap. I bought 5 pair of leggings for $10, and I still have them a year later, and they still holding up. They haven't split down the middle like my other leggings. Like, so yeah, if you ever drive out of the country, make sure you don't have any warrants. Because I still have a warrant in Atlantic City. It's not extraditable, so I haven't really been worried about it, because I just haven't been worried about it. I got to get that cleared up, because they stop you at the border and put you in a little holding cell until they get a clear pass saying that Atlantic City's not gonna come get me. Like, so yeah, that was interesting. My nephew was just panicking, and they were like, look, we're not keeping her. It's just the process we have to go through. So yeah, they let me back into the country. But yee. Like, so in the process, in the process of me having my nephew Jeremiah with me, my 19-year-old nephew, he told me that my mother had been buying weed for my 12-year-old nephew for over a year and had been smoking with him. Like, I knew my mother was buying weed for Jeremiah, but the 12-year old. So when we get back to Las Vegas, I'm confronted with the dilemma. Like, because I want my mother to get in trouble, because she needs to stop doing this. But I don't want to tell on my mother, because it's still my mother. So God gave me a loophole. God gave me a loophole. The law is, if you tell your counselor something like that, they have to tell the law. So I told my nephew Jeremiah to tell his counselor, because he had a counselor, and he told his counselor over the phone. And oh yeah, CPS shows up and everything. They didn't take my nephew, because CPS in Las Vegas sucks. You gonna take my children from me, but my mama's allowed to buy weed for a 12-year-old. I can't stand the government. So now my mother doesn't like me. I know my mother doesn't like me. She basically kicked me out of her house, because now she has to walk around on eggshells, because the truth has been exposed. No, you shouldn't have been getting high with a child. Like, so I end up getting kicked out, but in the process, like, before I got kicked out, I changed my brakes. And so when she kicked me out, I hop in the car, and I drive and there's no brakes in my car. Like there's no brakes. Not because I did a bad job of changing my brakes. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And so I pulled over and jacked up the car because I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? I've changed brakes before. So I know I didn't mess up. I didn't do anything wrong. So I jacked up the car. I emergency brake, jack up the car, and I checked the brakes. I can't see anything wrong with them. I visually can't see anything wrong with them. So in the process of me trying to get the tire back on, because when I stopped the car, it didn't dawn in my head that I was at an incline. I'm putting the tire back on. The car smashed my hand. I mean, I moved it, and so it didn't crush my hand completely. Oh yeah, but for the longest, I'd wake up, my hand be like this. So I have something wrong with my hand. It's not full capacity. I don't know what's really wrong with it because I didn't go to the hospital because I just ain't no bones popping out. I'm not bleeding, so I wasn't going to the hospital. And my nephew Jeremiah, he was just totally fascinated. I dropped the car on my hand, and all I did was growl. He asked me if I was okay, and I told him, I said, "Don't ask me if I'm okay. I don't even know if I'm okay." But so I didn't have any brakes in my car other than using the emergency brake. So me and I know Jeremiah, he came with me when my mother kicked me out. He came with me, and I ended up living at the park in Las Vegas for about a week or two, maybe just a week, and because the thermostat went out of my car, it got cold, had to fix the thermostat, and then the coolant outlet valve, it went bad too, so I had to fix that too. All while my hand, it hurt to use my hand more than 10 minutes. If I used my hand for 10 minutes, it was in physical pain for like 3 hours. So yeah, I learned how to work on my car even more. I've done brakes before, but this is when I started working under the hood. And so I got tired of being in Las Vegas living at the park. And there are so many homeless people living at the park. You're apparently in Las Vegas, you could sleep there day or night. They don't care. And there were other people sleeping alongside in their vehicles in the park. Like I said, COVID has done a number on this world. There are so many people homeless because of COVID. And so after about a week, I'm just like, I'm out of here. I can't take this anymore. And I drove to California on emergency brakes. I know. I do some extremely dangerous things. I do not suggest anybody do it, but I needed to get out of Vegas. I just my spirit was not right in Las Vegas. I can't do it. I can't do it. Mm-mm. So I left, and I ended up living in a Walmart parking lot for a week. Of all places, I lived in a Walmart parking lot for a week. People wired me money. I am so thankful that I have friends who have good steady incomes, and they were able to wire me money, because if not, I wouldn't have been able to eat. The dogs wouldn't have been able to eat. And then I remembered, after about a week of living in Walmart, I was just fed up. Like seriously, I'm living in the Walmart parking lot. I was just fed up. I'm reading the Bible every day. I'm worshiping and I'm praising the Lord. And then I had an epiphany. I had a revelation. I remembered how Hezekiah was just like, no, Jesus. Well, no, God. Because God, the angel of the Lord told Hezekiah, like, right, you gonna die in 3 days. And Hezekiah's like, excuse do you haven't I been faithful? Like, mm-mm. So yeah, I was in Hesperia, California, yelling at God like, I have changed my life around. I've done so much for you, and now I'm destitute in this parking lot. Like, cause I couldn't get my brakes to work. So I even bled the brakes. I got a brake bleeder in my toolbox now, and there was nothing I could do. The brakes were just not working, and it didn't make sense to me at all. I watched every YouTube video on why my brakes weren't working and couldn't. It So I'm literally yelling at God, like, this can't be it. This can't be it. Like, I can't afford to eat. I can't afford to feed my dogs. Like, I, I'm living in a Walmart parking lot. I can't, this is not life right now. I really yelled at him. I really yelled at him and like said, no, I've been faithful for years. I've turned my life around, and this is how you repay me. Like, no, Jesus, I know you have more in store for me. So I end up taking my nephew's PlayStation 5 and I pawned it. I pawned it as some money so I could have some money to see what's wrong with the car with the brakes. And I googled one brake place, and for some reason the God said, not that one. And so I googled another one, and I went there, and I was like, I just want you to tell me what's wrong with the brake so I can figure it out and I could fix them. And of course, they tell you they're going to charge you just to even look at the brakes. I take it there, and he couldn't figure it out. This man had been working on brakes as long for 2 decades. No, even longer than that. Longer than I've been alive. He's been doing brakes. He was the brake masters. That was the name of the shop. Brake masters. It took him 4 days to fix my brakes. You want to know what was wrong with them? The ABS system went out. Like I said, I didn't do anything wrong with my brakes. No, I know how to change brakes. It was the ABS system went out. So they had a route around it. I know. I know. And like I said, thank God. I honestly thank God that I have people who, when I have borrowed money, I couldn't even consider it borrowed because I didn't pay it back. I asked them for money, and then I asked them for more money, and then I asked them for more money, and they still had my back. Just, that's tell you what the type of person I am. That people are just sending me money and just sending me money because they paid for my brakes. They paid for my brakes. Once my brakes were fixed, I was like, I'm out of here. I think I stayed in California maybe like 3, 4 days, got hustled up some money, got Jeremiah his PlayStation back, and drove out of there. I'm like, I'm gone. I'm going back to Ohio. I can't the life that is going on. I was so glad to have working brakes. I was just gone. I went to where'd I go? Where'd I go first? I went to Phoenix. I went to Phoenix because that was like the first place. I was in California, first place. It's like 6 hours. Phoenix. I told you I drive. So I went to Phoenix and I stayed out there for like a day. Made some money because I'm working cross work here, work here, work here. So we still have food, we have gas, we and I don't like to be broke. So I wasn't gonna only make enough money to be broke. Who does that? Not me. Like so I made it to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I know Bugs Bunny. Every time I think of Albuquerque, New Mexico, I think of Bugs Bunny because every time he'd show up someplace and he was confused, he was like, I shouldn't have made the left, or I should have made the left. I forget what he said at Albuquerque. For some reason, he was always making the wrong turn in Albuquerque. And I worked like a day there, and I remember calling Jonathan again. We remember Jonathan. He routed me money when I was in Barstow and he wasn't there. And so I called him. I was like, look, because one day he showed up in Las Vegas when I was living in the park. I forgot to tell y'all that. One day Jonathan calls me and asks me, he's like, are you in California? Or are you in Las Vegas? And I said, I'm in Las Vegas. Why? He was like, because my grandfather had his 90th birthday and I went to Oregon to see him. And now I'm in Las Vegas and I have an extremely long layover and I want to see you. So I hung out and kicked it with Jonathan before I shot out of Vegas and went to California. Forgot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm just human. So and he tells me when I decide to go back to Ohio, he's like, stop through on the 40. I'm not going to tell you where he is, but he said, stop through on the 40 and see me. I said, dude, that's not the route I was going because I didn't want to take that route. I've driven that 40 before. And I just didn't want to. I didn't want to. It's very boring, basically nothing to see for miles and miles and miles. I didn't want to do it. Like, but because he's my homie. He's been my best friend for forever. It seems like for over a decade. I was like, let me go ahead and stop through in the middle of nowhere, Texas, on the 40 Route 66. Smart people can figure that out. And so I decide I'm in Albuquerque, and I said I'm gonna be in the middle of nowhere, Texas, Yo City, on Saturday. And he was like, "Well, I'm off on Sunday." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll be there Saturday." And because I showed up on Saturday and I knew he was at work, I really sat in the Walmart parking lot. I was just like so happy to be someplace where I knew somebody that didn't bring my spirits down. So I stayed in the Walmart parking lot. I watched TV. I know, thank God for Hulu and YouTube and Netflix and cell phones. And Walmart has free Wi-Fi. Like, but I have unlimited either way. But so I had a long conversation with my sister. I kicked it in the parking lot. It was all to the good. And so the next morning, I think I got up like at 3 o'clock in the morning, just extra early, and I watched several hours of church for real. I just decided to watch several hours of church because I was just in a grateful mood. Watched several hours of church, decided to do some door dashing at 6 o'clock in the morning because they said they were busy at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what? Because only in Santa Monica has it ever been busy at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's the only place since I've been door dashing that I've seen it busy was California. Like, so I started doing some door dashing. I door dashed until 9 o'clock in the morning because that's when Jonathan told me to give him a call. I called him at 9 o'clock. He got up and I showed up. I showed up. All right. So yes, it was a Sunday, and I remember because my plans were to go back to Cleveland. I was taking me and my nephew to Cleveland, and I remember it being Sunday. And I asked Jonathan. I said, "Well, what time do you leave for work tomorrow?" He told me like 1:30 ish, and I was like, "Okay, well then I'll be gone by then, not a problem." And he looks at me. He says, "You don't have to leave." And I was like, bad. I was just so excited that I didn't have to leave. Now, if you know nothing about Jonathan, which most likely you don't, years ago, when I lived in Vegas, actually, when I lived in Barstow, Jonathan used to babysit for me. He used to watch my kids. He used to watch my kids for me because I had seemed like a million, but it was only four. Like, and my first husband wasn't nothing. He was, remember, we talked about him already this hour. So I ended up moving to Vegas years ago, and Jonathan moved with me. He became my best friend, like for real, for real. He is my ride or die. And I took care of him 100%. Jonathan had no income. I did. So when he told me I could stay, I'm like, awesome, awesome. This is the one person in the world who I know can't say that I'm using them, because people like to say if no, you know how people are. And I was like, no, he's no, I'm not using him, because my mama literally tried to tell me I was using her for a place to stay. You're my mother. Like, how does that work in your head? But I was just like, yay, I could stay here and he's not gonna throw a fit. And so after about a week or so, because me and Jonathan, you know, when you watch on TV and people say, like, when they were young, they're like, yo, when I make it to 40, if I'm not married and you're not married, we're gonna marry each other. That's how best friends say when they're male and female. Me and Jonathan had made that agreement. We made that agreement when we were in our 20s, like seriously. Because Jonathan wanted to marry me when he was 19. I said, little boy, I ain't about to marry you. You better grow up and get some youth up under your belt. Like, I'm about to steal your youth. Like, no, no, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was old. I was like 26 with four kids, married with a divorce pending, and you wanted to marry me. You was only 19. Like, no, he was 20 at that time. No, so it was like, no, 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 little boy. And so I'm out there. I'm out there in the middle of nowhere, Texas, feeling comfortable. Jonathan done got him a good job, a good job where he could take care of me. Yeah, and Jonathan loves me. He has proved his love to me so many times. Oh my goodness, the dogs, they're messing with me only because I'm here. I'm so praying everything's okay. It was just a quick scuffle. I got to check to make sure dogs are all alive. So that scared me. That scared me. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to have to edit, so I'm not. I know, right? So yes, Jonathan has proved his love and loyalty to me for years. So eventually, I said to Jonathan, I was like, "Do you still want to marry me?" And he looks at me, and I was like, "Not now. In 2 years, when I turn 40." And he was like, "Yeah, sure, not a problem." And then I was like, cool. Yeah. He still wants to marry me. Like, I still got my backup plan on play. Like, and then it's so funny because days later, I was like, Jonathan, you still gonna marry me? And he was like, what? When, in 2 years? I was like, no, I'm getting old. I'm tired. Like, you want to marry me now? I know, right? I asked him to marry me. And so April 3rd, we got married. No, April 30th. April 3rd is my birthday. April 30th is our wedding day. So we got married. I know. I know. My life has changed drastically because of COVID. That is all that happened. Like, oh my goodness. That's the last of my little talking points. I got married. I got married and I stayed in the middle of nowhere, Texas. And ain't no telling what's going to happen. This is my end of my episode because I have to go check on dogs. I feel like somebody is bleeding and the devil likes to hate me. I so apologize for not being on TV in forever. I know I took my holiday break. Almost every person who ever does almost every person who does YouTube, they took a holiday break. Even the TV took holiday breaks. I just took an extended holiday break. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm breaks over. Break time's over. It is 2022 and I am dedicated. I'm fully committed. I've been working 5 days a week again. I know I got things to do. So, no, you can count on me. I will be here every single Tuesday. I'm going to find a set time to do it because I'm actually shooting the videos in advance now. So, I ain't got to even worry about, you know. So, no, every Tuesday, I'm going to be here for you. Until we meet again next Tuesday, you have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye.